To welcome back our dear friend and mentor, Newt Gingrich, former House Speaker, Fox News contributor. Newt, thank you for this very much. A word on the War Powers Act, Newt. I mean, this is just Democratic meddling, isn't it? It's just all, I mean, I don't even understand it.
Look, it's all political posturing because the president's going to veto it. If it ever got through the Senate, he would just veto it, and the veto would be sustained. But it tells you that the Democrats are running, I think, a real risk of becoming the pro-Iran party. Now, when you have a country like Iran with a religiously inspired dictatorship, which for 47 years has chanted death to America, which has called America the Great Satan, which our own State Department since 1983 has every single year said is the leading sponsor of state terrorism on the entire planet. Why would the Democrats decide to become the pro-Iranian party? And yet you look at their rhetoric, you look at their speeches, you look at the vote on the War Powers Act, it's very clear if their choice is between the American president and the Iranian dictatorship, the Democrats today are on the side of the Iranian dictatorship, which, by the way, ironically, as a party of big cities, they are the people most at risk if the Iranians ever get nuclear weapons and missiles. I mean, it's New York City, it is Chicago, it's Boston. I mean, they have far more at risk with an Iranian dictatorship than somebody in North Dakota or Idaho or most of Texas. So it's a very strange moment for a Democratic Party, which I think has basically lost its mind.
I mean, just one last one on that, and I want to get to oil prices and such. Has the Democratic Party become the anti-Israel party? Has it become the anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic party also?
Well, you see a lot of that. You see the nominee, for example, probable nominee in Maine, who has a Nazi tattoo. You have the Democratic frontrunner now in Michigan for the Senate is a rabidly anti-Israel candidate. Around the country, the Democrats have gone from being a party which had historically been pretty supportive of Israel to a party where it's pretty hard to see how a pro-Israeli candidate could become their presidential nominee.
So let's move on. You have been writing quite a bit about gas prices. Your view is, and I mentioned it in the riff because I think you have a lot of advocates on this. A lot of people are asking why we, didn't follow through on Project Freedom, didn't follow through. Now there is a channel, this Oman channel. Some small amount of ships are coming through there, but we didn't clear it. We didn't do what we thought CENTCOM was going to do. Gasoline prices are down 5 or 6%. The WTI oil is down about 18%, but it's still $4.30 something. You want it to get to $3.50, maybe less, in order to win the midterm elections so that President Trump can continue his reform effort in tax cuts and big government socialism and fraud and corruption, and of course his new foreign policies, which have a chance to really remake that region and other regions. So on gas prices, Newt, why do you think they've not emphasized opening up the strait? It's a sort of a mystery to me.
Well, look, I think as I've written about this, I think the president is the leader of a coalition. And it's not just unilateral Americanism. And I think he has, with the Saudis in particular, but with a number of our allies in the area, genuine fear that if we were to go to an all-out military assault, that the response of the Iranians, who still have several thousand missiles left over that they've stockpiled over the years, that their response would be to try to take out, for example, the Iraqi or the Saudi or the Kuwaiti oil fields. So when you lead a coalition, it's much more complicated than if it's just your own country. And I think that President Trump has been trying to wave a balance here. But if you'll notice, they've maintained the blockade. They are grinding down the Iranian economy. They are crippling the Iranian government. They have, as you point out, they're getting a lot more oil out of the strait that people think they are. The prices, if you'll notice, are starting to come down. If I had any one word for people who are watching this, and this is not a very Gingrich thing to say, I'm going to be upfront here. My word would be patience. I think we're at a moment here where the president actually knows what he's doing, is extraordinarily complicated. The other part of this, by the way, is the Iranian government has been shattered. We have killed so many of their senior leaders that there's no natural decision-making process that we can turn to. And so you have to sort of coach them through it and help them figure out how they're going to get where they want to go. Now, I'm a hardliner. I mean, I would replace the regime. I think that they are our mortal enemies. I think that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard should be totally destroyed. But I'm also a realist. The president has to take this as far as he can take it. He's got to get the oil prices down as fast as he can get them down. And he's got to stick to the big things. I mean, if you said to me, do I want to win the election this fall by giving them the power to destroy Chicago or Boston or Seattle, I'd say no.
No.
I'm not prepared for one political election.
Well, he's
to give
held.
our enemies the ability to destroy us.
He's been tough on the key red lines, on nuclear capabilities, getting rid of the enriched uranium, opening up the strait, restraining the missile. He's been fabulous on that. You know, another point, Newt, just worth saying, Treasury man Scott Bessent, he's the best wartime Treasury Secretary since World War II, all right? I said that in my interview with him last week. I repeat that. He is running this economic fury, blockading, embargoing. He's seizing their crypto monies, their offshore bank accounts, their villas. And you look at the economy now, nobody's getting paid. Police forces aren't showing up. Inflation may be 200%. The currency's worthless. I mean, Bessent deserves a lot of credit, I think, for his part in this.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting in the modern world that Secretary Bessent is in many ways as important as Secretary Hegseth, that they each represent some of the great power of the United States, and the Treasury in many ways, as we close in on the Iranian government, as it loses money, as it loses any chance of survival, I think inch by inch, you're going to see Steve Witkoff and others produce a document which will shock people. And at that point, of course, all of the naysayers will say, well, you know, I was really always for them. And it'll be interesting to watch all those Democrats who voted yesterday for the War Powers Act. If this works, and I think it will, it's going to be interesting to watch their explanation of why they didn't really mean it.
One last one, I got a minute or so. California, okay, Steve Hilton, my pal, Steve Hilton, won actually the first round in the jungle primary for governor. And this reality star, Spencer Pratt, came in second. He did very well in the mayor. You know, is it possible that the people of California are fed up with one party, you know, big government, socialist, ultra-progressive rule? Is it possible that that hegemony is coming to an end?
I think if this turns out to be a referendum on whether or not you think California could be better governed or you need to stick with the current corruption, I think Steve Hilton may shock everybody. Because I think the average Californian knows in their heart the current system of high taxes, corruption, and totally incompetent government simply doesn't work.
Right. That's it. 100% right. We're seeing it. They said it couldn't be done. Newt Gingrich, you're wonderful. Thank you, sir. It's great to see you. Take care. All right, folks, moving right along.